Whispers of a Forgotten Species. The great chamber of the Galactic Council glowed with 1,000 lights, each representing a different world. The air was thick with voices, with arguments, with the sound of powerful empires deciding the fate of millions. At the center stood a tall Zyran delegate, scales glittering as he raised his long arms for silence. "They speak of old myths again," he hissed, his voice carrying through the hall. "Myths of a species long dead. Myths of humanity." A wave of laughter rippled across the chamber. For centuries, the word human had been spoken only in stories, bedtime tales told to scare alien children into obedience. They were said to be fierce, cunning, and unstoppable. But to most of the galaxy, humans were nothing more than a legend. Yet not everyone laughed. In the shadows of the council, old captains sat with quiet eyes. They remembered fragments from their training manuals, ancient warnings etched in red. Do not engage Terran fleets. Avoid the Death Worlders. They remembered that no empire had ever truly conquered Earth. The younger delegates dismissed them quickly. If humans existed, a proud veil. Speaker said, "They are dust by now." His golden feathers shone as he mocked, "This galaxy belongs to us, not to ghosts." But far beyond the shining chamber, deep in the black of space, something stirred. It began with silence. Whole sectors stopped transmitting. Outposts went dark without warning. Patrol ships entered the void and never returned. At first, the council blamed pirates, then rogue empires. But the evidence grew harder to ignore. Black box fragments showed blurred shapes, massive engines moving like shadows. One report, smuggled in secret, described a voice heard on open channels. A deep voice, calm and steady, speaking in an ancient language, English. The words were simple. "We are watching." The council tried to bury the report. They ordered silence. They called it false. They punished the scouts who spoke of it. But rumors spread faster than they could be silenced. In the lower levels of spaceports, in the quiet bars of mining colonies, whispers grew louder. "The humans are real," they said. "The humans are coming back." An old commander named Raltor sat alone in his quarters, staring at a cracked data pad. He had fought 50 years ago in the border wars. He remembered the fleet that disappeared in a single night. His own brother had been there. The official record claimed they were lost to a plasma storm. But Raltor knew storms did not destroy ships with surgical precision. He whispered to himself, "They are not myths. They are waiting." Back in the council chamber, more arguments broke out. Some wanted to investigate the void. Others wanted to seal it and declare it forbidden space. Still others laughed again, claiming it was all superstition. But even as they laughed, a faint tremor shook the walls. The energy scanners flared with strange readings. The void was shifting. Young Aide ran into the chamber, her face pale. "Counselors," she shouted. "We just lost contact with Sector 12. Every station, every ship, gone." The chamber fell silent. Even the loudest voices stilled. For the first time in centuries, fear spread across the galaxy's rulers. Meanwhile, in the farthest edge of the void, a scout vessel limped through darkness, its engines failing, hull scorched. The captain of the scout leaned over the comms panel, voice shaking. "This is the Cavallis," he gasped. We saw them." Static filled the channel, then one last message came through before the ship was lost. "They are real," he whispered. "Humans. The Armada waits in the shadows." The signal ended, leaving silence behind. But the silence spoke, louder than any scream. In that silence, legends became fear, and fear became truth. The galaxy had spent thousands of years believing humanity was only a story. But now the story had begun again, and somewhere deep in the void, the first sparks of ancient engines lit the darkness. The void tremble's darkness stretched across the stars like an endless ocean. Patrol fleets moved cautiously along the edges of the void, scanning, listening, searching for answers. Their sensors pulsed through the emptiness. But what they found only deepened the fear. Whole constellations of signals had gone silent. The lights of colonies once bright were gone. Their beacons snuffed out as if someone had drawn a curtain across the night. Small ships were dispatched to investigate, but none returned. Instead, only fragments of transmissions floated back. Screams, static, and strange echoes of engines. Too large to belong to any known empire, the Council tried to keep order. They told the people it was nothing more than natural anomalies, storms of radiation, or pirate attacks. Yet the truth kept slipping through. More black boxes were found, charred and cracked, each one carrying recordings that chilled even the most skeptical admirals. In one recording, a ship's crew was heard shouting, "It's too big, too fast." Then the signal cut to silence. In another, the image of a massive shadow passed over the stars, its form blurred, but its size unmistakable. The ships dwarfed everything the galaxy had ever seen. Fear began to spread like fire in dry grass. Merchants refused to take routes near the void. Civilians packed up their homes and fled to safer systems. Priests of old religions whispered that the hunters of legend had returned in back alleys and marketplaces. Smugglers traded not in goods but in rumors. They said the humans were back. Among those who refused to laugh was Admiral Zara. She was a veteran of countless battles, her body scarred by plasma burns, her eyes hard and unblinking. For years, she had warned the Council that the void was not empty. Now she stood before them, her voice sharp and cold. "You ignored the signs," she said, her voice cutting through the chamber like steel. "You dismissed the reports, but the humans are coming. They never died, they never vanished, they waited." The chamber erupted with arguments. Some shouted that she was spreading panic. Others whispered that perhaps she was right. The younger delegates scoffed, insisting that humanity was extinct. But their laughter died when the Council's grand sensors lit up with warnings. Strange pulses echoed from the void, rhythmic, steady, like the beating of a massive heart. Fleets sent to investigate vanished within minutes, leaving only flashes on the scanners. The Council demanded answers, but no answers came. Only fear. One night, deep in the void, a lone patrol ship caught sight of something no one could explain. Its crew watched as the stars themselves seemed to bend and warp. Out of the emptiness, lights appeared, thousands of them flickering like fireflies but moving in perfect formation. The captain tried to describe it. "It's like the void itself is opening," he whispered. "Engines, massive engines." His last words trembled through the transmission before the signal was cut. By morning, the recording spread through the underground networks of the galaxy. Miners, smugglers, and soldiers whispered the same phrase. "The Armada waits." On a distant mining world, an old mechanic sat outside his shack staring at the night sky. He remembered stories told by his grandfather, tales of humans who fought entire fleets and never lost. He spat into the dirt and muttered, "The old ones were right. The galaxy thought them myths, but myths don't burn stars." Across the Council's territories, panic boiled over. Small rebellions broke out as populations demanded protection. Some worlds closed their ports, refusing all. Outsiders, for fear of human spies, armies scrambled to prepare defenses. But commanders knew in their hearts that no fortress would stand against the return of humanity. In the Council's war chamber, a desperate plan was formed. They would send one of their greatest fleets into the void to prove once and for all that the threat was nothing but shadows. The fleet was led by High Admiral Koro, proud, arrogant, and certain of his power. His ship stretched for thousands of kilometers, a force meant to crush fear itself. For 3 days, no one heard from the fleet. Then a single message reached the Council, crackling with static. "They are real." Koro's broken voice whispered, "The Armada is here." The signal cut, leaving only silence. But in that silence, every member of the Council felt the same cold truth. The void was no longer empty. It was alive, and it was bringing back the humans the galaxy had tried so hard to forget. The first sight. The void had swallowed fleets before, but now it was ready to reveal its secret. On the edge of forgotten space, a small coalition fleet drifted, their crews tense, eyes glued to the scanners. They had been ordered by the Council to investigate, to prove that the fear was nothing but illusions. Captain Varys of the Rylox Alliance stood on the bridge of his cruiser. His tendrils tapped nervously against the railing as the silence pressed down. "Engine steady," he whispered to his crew. "Hold the line." His words did little to ease the shaking in their voices. The darkness outside was endless. Then, the stars began to vanish one by one. Points of light flickered out, as if swallowed by something too vast to be seen. The crew gasped, their sensors struggling to read the shifting space. "Sir," a young officer cried, "something massive is blocking the stars." Veras narrowed his eyes, staring at the dark. Horizon slowly shapes emerged, darker than the void itself. Huge silhouettes stretched across the sky, thousands of them. Each one carried engines that glowed faintly like embers hidden in ash. The first sight of them stole the breath of every soul aboard. Ships bigger than any dreadnought, longer than cities, moving in perfect silence. They were sleek, angular, and sharp, built not for beauty but for war. Humanity's Armada had arrived. A low hum filled the comms channel. Then a voice broke through, deep, calm, and unmistakably human. "We were never gone." The words echoed across every ship in the Coalition fleet. The officers froze, terror locking their limbs. The old stories had spoken of human voices of their strange language. Now those words were alive, carried by the void itself. Some crews panicked. "Retreat," one admiral shouted. "We must retreat." But it was too late. The human ships moved as one, shifting formation until they surrounded the Coalition fleet like predators circling prey. "Try to hail them," Veras ordered, his voice shaking. "Maybe they will talk." A message was sent, desperate and pleading, but the humans did not answer. Instead, one of their warships powered its weapons, glowing with a pale blue light. It fired a single shot, not at the Coalition but past them. The beam tore through an asteroid, reducing it to dust in a flash. It was not an attack, it was a warning. Veras stared at the fading fragments of rock, his chest tight. "They're showing us what they can do," he whispered. His crew nodded silently, fear etched in every movement. Then the scanners screamed with new readings. More ships poured from the void. Hundreds, then thousands, stretching across the darkness, forming an unbroken wall of steel. It was not just a fleet. It was an empire returning from the shadows. Across the galaxy, the transmission spread. Miners stopped their drills. Traders froze in markets. Priests fell to their knees. The voice of humanity had returned, and their Armada had been seen. On distant worlds, children asked their parents if the stories were true. Parents had no answers, only silence. The myths of humanity were no longer myths. They were reality. Meanwhile, on the bridge of Veras's cruiser, alarms blared as the Coalition fleet prepared for retreat. But before they could jump to hyperspace, a final message crackled through the void. "The galaxy forgot us," the human voice said, calm and steady. "But we never forgot the galaxy." Then the human fleet powered down their weapons and simply waited. Their ships hung in the void like shadows too large to fight, too silent to ignore. Veras's hands trembled as he gave the order. "Fall back, record everything, let the Council see." His voice was filled with dread. He knew this was not the end. It was only the first sight. As the Coalition ships retreated, the last image burned into their minds was of the Armada. Black, ships lined across the stars, their presence heavy, unstoppable. The humans had shown themselves, and they had shown their power, fear across the stars. The first images of the human Armada spread faster than light across the galaxy. They were carried on smuggler channels, whispered in mining camps, played in secret on civilian networks. The Council tried to censor them, but it was too late. Everyone had seen. Everyone had heard the voice that said, "We were never gone." Markets crashed overnight. Civilizations that once felt secure now trembled. On wealthy trade worlds, citizens filled the streets in panic. Ships crowded the spaceports as people begged to escape to safer systems. But no system was truly safe anymore, not with the humans back. On poorer planets, priests declared that the return of humanity was the end of days. They told their followers that the hunters of legend had risen from the void to judge the galaxy. Thousands fell to their knees in prayer. Others prepared weapons, hoping to resist what they believed was inevitable. The Galactic Council was in chaos. Delegates shouted over one another, blaming each other, Some screamed that they should send envoys, others demanded that the human fleet be destroyed before it could strike. Yet beneath all the noise, one truth echoed in every heart. No fleet could match what they had seen. In the military chambers, admirals studied the recordings with pale faces. "Look at their formation," Admiral Shore muttered, pointing to the holographic display. "Perfect. Unity. No hesitation, not a single error," another admiral added. "Their weapons. One shot reduced a mountain-sized asteroid to dust." Silence followed. No one had the courage to suggest open war, but pride ran deep in the galaxy. Some empires could not accept fear. The Zaith Dominion broadcasted to all worlds. "Humanity is nothing but shadow and trickery," their ruler declared. "We are the strength of the galaxy. We will destroy these ghosts." His words were brave, but his eyes betrayed doubt. On the mining moon of Talos 3, a group of workers huddled around a cracked holoscreen. They watched the grainy recording of the Armada again and again. One of them whispered, "Those ships are too many." Another replied, "My grandfather said they fought like predators, never stopping, never losing." The workers fell silent. Knowing the stories were true, fear was not only in the hearts of civilians, it lived now in the council itself. Old records were dragged from archives, files marked with warnings. The words written by ancient commanders returned to the light. "Do not provoke the Terrans. If you see them, retreat, for their war is not like ours." Meanwhile, far from the council's eyes, small rebellions broke out. Worlds that once depended on the council no longer trusted them. "You cannot protect us from humans," they shouted. "Why should we follow you?" Entire colonies declared independence, believing that submission to humanity might be safer than loyalty to the council. The humans had not fired a single true shot, yet they had shaken the galaxy more than any war in memory. On the shadowed world of Draxus, smugglers gathered in a hidden bar. One leaned close to the others and whispered, "I heard they are not coming to conquer." His words made the room fall silent. "I heard they are coming to reclaim." The smugglers traded nervous looks. If humans had returned to reclaim, what did that mean for every empire now living on the ruins of human space? What did it mean for the colonies built over ancient Earth settlements? Back in the council chamber, Admiral Zara stood before the assembly, her scarred face hard as stone. "You call them myths," she said, her voice echoing. "But myths do not erase fleets. Myths do not bend the stars. They are real and they are watching us." Some delegates demanded that she be silenced, but many others sat pale and quiet. They could not unsee the Armada. They could not unhear. The voice that promised the galaxy had been wrong. As the session ended, the counselors left with fear heavy in their steps. Outside, the night sky glowed with stars, but for the first time in centuries, those stars felt like eyes, cold and unblinking. Watching in the darkness of the void, the Armada remained silent. They did not advance. They did not retreat. They simply waited. Their patience was more terrifying than any weapon. It was as if the humans were saying, "We are in no hurry. The galaxy will come to us." The galaxy had mocked humanity as a legend. Now the legend had returned. And across every world, fear spread like a storm with no end. The galaxy could no longer deny them. The Council confronts humanity. The galaxy could not live in silence any longer. The human Armada remained still in the void, vast and endless. Yet their stillness was more frightening than any attack. Entire civilizations demanded answers, and, so the Council decided, they would send envoys to confront the humans. The great chamber filled once again. Delegates argued for days. Some demanded war. Others begged for peace. Finally, a decision was made. A fleet of diplomats and escorts would enter the void and seek an audience with the Terrans. Admiral Zara was chosen to lead the mission, not because the Council trusted her, but because she was the only one who had spoken without fear. Her scarred face and steel eyes had faced countless battles, and now she would face the humans themselves as her envoy ships approached the void. Tension grew heavy. The crews whispered prayers in their native tongues. Every sensor swept the darkness. But once again, the stars began to vanish. One by one, They were swallowed by shadows. The Armada was waiting. Zara stood tall on the bridge, her voice steady. Hold position. Do not raise weapons. We come to speak, not to fight. Her words calmed her officers, though their hands shook on the controls. Then the darkness split open. Thousands of human warships revealed themselves, forming a wall that stretched across the horizon. Their weapons glowed faintly, ready but restrained, and in the center, a massive flagship moved forward, larger than any alien had ever seen. Its hull bore scars of ancient wars, yet its engines burned bright. A voice cut through the comms, deep and steady, unmistakably human. You seek us. Now you will listen. The council envoys exchanged nervous glances. No translation device was needed, for the humans spoke in perfect clarity. Their language carried weight, sharp and unyielding. Admiral Zira stepped forward, activating the comms. This is Admiral Zira, representative of the Galactic Council. We come in peace. We wish to understand why you have returned. There was silence, long and heavy. Then the human commander appeared on the screen. His face was lined with age, his uniform plain, but his eyes burned with the fire of command. He looked at them, as if he were gazing at insects. You forgot us, he said. You laughed at us, you called us myths, but we were never gone, we were waiting. Zara kept her voice firm. The galaxy believed you extinct. We believed you lost to time. If you have returned, then we seek peace. The human's lips curled into a bitter smile. Peace, he repeated. Peace is what you offered after you feared us. Peace is what you offered when you could not defeat us. You do not seek peace, you seek safety from what you cannot control. The chamber aboard the envoy ship fell silent. Every delegate felt the weight of the words. Humanity did not speak like beggars. They spoke like rulers returned to claim what was theirs. The human commander lifted a hand, and behind him the vast armada shifted formation, thousands of warships, aligned, creating a perfect wall of steel and fire. The sight made even the bravest hearts falter. Zara swallowed hard but did not lower her eyes. If not peace, then what do you want? She asked. The human's voice deepened, carrying across the stars. We want what was always ours. We want the galaxy to remember. We want you to understand that humanity is not a myth. Humanity is your future. Some envoys tried to argue. Their voices broke through the comms. You cannot rule us, one shouted. The galaxy will never kneel. The human commander's eyes narrowed. His fleet powered its weapons, beams glowing like suns, yet he did not fire. Instead, he said softly, You have already knelt. Your fear kneels for you. The envoy ships trembled in silence. No one dared to speak again. The humans had made their point without a single shot. Zara lowered her head, her voice quiet. Then what is your next move? She asked. The human commander leaned closer to the screen, his words cold and final. We do not move, we wait. The galaxy will come to us, one by one. Your worlds will choose, ally with us, or fall without us. We have returned, and nothing will be the same again. The comms cut to silence. The human fleet did not pursue. They simply held their position, a wall of shadows at the edge of the void, watching, waiting. As the envoys retreated, Zara's heart pounded. She knew the truth. This was not negotiation, this was a warning. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy stood on the edge of surrender, the Armada's wrath. The galaxy had seen the human fleet, and still some believed they could resist. Pride ran deep among the great empires. They told their citizens that humanity was bluffing, that their ships were old, that their power was exaggerated, but deep inside, fear gnawed at them. The Zaith Dominion, bold and arrogant, decided to test the humans first. They gathered a massive coalition fleet, thousands of cruisers, dreadnoughts, and carriers from across their allies. Together they formed what was believed to be the strongest armada the galaxy had ever built. Their leader broadcasted across the stars, These ghosts will burn before the might of the living. The coalition fleet entered the void with confidence, their banners shining, their weapons armed. Their admirals boasted that the humans would fall in hours. But the humans did not boast, They did not threaten. They simply waited. As the coalition ships approached, the Terran Armada shifted. Their black hulls reflected no light. Their engines hummed like thunder. For a moment, silence ruled the void. Then the humans struck. The first railgun fired. A single round tore through, an enemy cruiser splitting it in two as if it were paper. Before the coalition could react, dozens more fired. Each shot was precise, cold, and devastating. Alien fleets scrambled to return fire. Beams of plasma lit the darkness. Missiles streaked through space. But the humans moved like predators. Their ships darted in and out of formation, their shields absorbing fire with ease. Their weapons cut through enemy hulls, leaving trails of shattered metal. "Impossible," one alien admiral shouted, watching his fleet crumble. "No force can fight like this." But the humans could, and they did. The battle became slaughter. Human warships fired in perfect rhythm. Each time an alien dreadnought appeared to stand strong, a hidden Terran vessel emerged from cloak and destroyed it with one strike. Entire wings of enemy fighters vanished in seconds, burned away by weapons no one had seen before. And then came the bombardment. Human ships locked onto enemy carriers and unleashed orbital fire that rained like falling stars. Worlds that had supported the coalition watched in horror as their fleets burned. Cities far away felt the rumble of defeat in their hearts. In less than a day, the mighty coalition fleet was no more. Out of thousands of ships, only a handful limped away, shattered and broken. Their survivors whispered the same words across the comms. They were never myths, they are hunters, and we were the prey. The galaxy trembled. For centuries, no war had ended so quickly. No empire had been crushed with such precision. The humans had shown their wrath, and it was more terrifying than any had imagined. Back in the council chamber, delegates sat pale and silent. Gone were the shouts of pride. Gone were the boasts of resistance. Now only fear remained. Admiral Zara stood at the center of the chamber. Her voice was low but firm. "You have seen what they are. You have seen what they can do. Humanity does not bluff. Humanity does not forget. You must decide now. Resist and fall, or bow and survive." Across the galaxy, worlds lit with panic. Some begged to ally with humanity, hoping for mercy. Others hid behind closed borders, praying the Terrans would overlook them, but no one slept easily, not under the shadow of the Armada. Meanwhile, in the void, the human fleet gathered once more, their warships aligned in a wall of steel and fire, their message clear. They had no equal. They had no rival. On the bridge of the Terran flagship, the commander looked out into the stars, his voice calm as he spoke to his officers. "They thought we were gone. Now they understand. We are not here for revenge. We are here for remembrance. The galaxy will remember humanity." His words carried like a prophecy. Already the galaxy remembered, and it remembered with fear. The wrath of humanity had been revealed, and it was only the beginning. The return of humanity. The galaxy was broken. Fleets were shattered. Empires trembled, and fear had spread farther than any weapon could reach. The wrath of humanity had been revealed, and now every world waited for what would come next. In the void, the Terran Armada remained in formation, a wall of silent giants. Their black hulls gleamed faintly with the light of distant suns. Their engines hummed like ancient storms. For weeks, they had destroyed nothing more. They had advanced no further. They simply waited, and that silence terrified the galaxy more than the battle itself. In the council chamber, delegates sat pale and silent. They no longer shouted. They no longer mocked. They whispered, afraid that even their voices might reach the humans. Admiral Zara stood at the center, her scarred face calm but heavy. She knew what the galaxy had to do. Finally, a decision was made. Another envoy was sent. This time not with arrogance, not with threats, but with humility. They traveled to the edge of the void and waited for the humans to answer. The answer came. Swiftly, the human flagship emerged, its size dwarfing the envoy fleet. The comms lit with a voice steady and commanding. "You come again," the human commander said. This time you come without pride. The lead envoy bowed his head. We come seeking terms. We cannot deny. You, the galaxy, has seen your power, but what is it you truly want? For a long moment, silence filled the channel. Then the human commander appeared on the screen, his face weathered with age, his eyes sharp as blades. Behind him, the Armada stretched into infinity. We do not want your destruction, he said. We do not want your surrender. We want remembrance, we want respect, we want our place returned. The envoy swallowed. Your place? He asked. The commander leaned closer, his voice carried like thunder. We built among the stars long before your empires rose. We bled in battles you cannot imagine. You called us myths, but myths do not return with armadas. We are humanity, and we are here to stay. The words struck deep. They were not threats, they were not demands, they were truth. The galaxy had mocked, forgotten, and dismissed the humans. Now they could not. Across the stars, worlds bent their knees. One by one, messages poured into the council. We will ally with the humans, they said. We will trade with them. We will honor them. Others tried to resist, but their resistance died quickly. Crushed not by battle, but by fear itself. The humans had no need to conquer. The galaxy conquered itself in their presence, on the mining moon of Talos III, the same. Workers who once whispered now stood beneath the night sky. Watching as human warships passed overhead, one whispered, "They are not legends, they are guardians." Another added softly, "Or maybe judges." In secret halls, smugglers and priests argued, were the humans saviors or destroyers? Were they returning to guide the galaxy or to punish it? No one knew. And that uncertainty made them more powerful than any army. Back in the council chamber, Admiral Zira faced the delegates. You wanted myths, she said. Now you have reality, and you must accept it. For humanity has returned, and they will not vanish again. The final broadcast came not to the council, but to every world, every ship, every colony. The humans transmitted a single message across the galaxy. Their voice was steady, calm, and unforgettable. We are not myths, the message said. We are not ghosts, we are humanity. We have returned, and the stars will remember our name. The message echoed for days, replayed again and again. No one dared to shut it off. No one dared to ignore it. For it was not just a warning. It was a promise in the void. The human armada slowly turned. Their ships spread outward. Not as conquerors, but as watchers. They did not burn worlds, they did not erase civilizations, they simply moved into the galaxy as if reclaiming a home long lost. And across the stars, every empire, every leader, every child understood the truth. The galaxy was no longer the same. The age of humanity had begun again. The galaxy had believed humans were a legend. But when the void opened, the Armada arrived, and the legend became reality.